So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the land. Unfortunately, all I have is a little small ruler to deal with. I have a marker, but I recommend you doing it in pencil. And then once it's completely done and accurate, you can use a marker. You don't have to. So if you were to, and this is a different conversation we would have in our classroom that we would talk about. If you measure from here, which is the end of your square, this is where your support columns will actually come from. They'll raise from your land that way. And if you measure from here to here, that's 30 centimeters long. So that means when you're drawing on your bridge and you need to measure because these squares are not perfect, it needs to be 30 centimeters long. 30 centimeters will be longer than one sheet of paper, which is why we had to tape so many sheets of paper together. So if you, you're going to start in the bottom left corner by drawing a 5 centimeter high square, or 5 centimeter long, 5 centimeter over, 5 down. The reason being is your support columns need to fit inside of this box completely. And the size of this square is 5 by 5. So that means your columns can be no bigger than 5 by 5. So let me start out where you should and how basically your basic bridge should start out with. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to do a couple things. So you will see, I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit better. What I did is I first drew or measured 5 centimeters over and I kind of placed a dot. Then I went up 5 centimeters, placed a dot, and then I measured up 5 and then over 5 and corrected that corner and then drew my lines. You can draw a line down so you know where it ends, but you will not place a toothpick there. So same thing with this one. So what I did from here, let me zoom way out, is from this corner I measured all the way to 30 centimeters right here. So that actually is representing this land. Let me just get it set up. Sorry about the bad camera angle. This represents the land. And if you'll notice, these squares and these squares should match up. Now, if you're thinking in your head, hey, that's a pretty good cheater way of making sure my drawing matches my land, is just by like taking this and making your marks down here. I'm not saying you would be wrong, but obviously we want to make sure we're getting practice with a ruler. I'm also using a ruler to draw my lines so they're nice and straight. In class, when we do this, if your lines were not straight as part of the rubric, that you would not get a very good grade. So let's try to make sure this looks very neat, because you're actually going to use this to glue your toothpick bridges together. I'm gonna send home some wax paper you're gonna actually place right over these drawings, and you're gonna actually glue your toothpicks on top of the wax paper, which is on top of your drawing, so that way you know exactly where to place your toothpicks and you are building exactly. So the next step you're gonna do is draw a line connecting these two pieces. So you see here, now I drew a line connecting. So now we have our support columns here and here, and this is actually representing the roadbed of the bridge. The next thing we're going to do is now start drawing the top. Some people might have a bridge that is flat and goes straight up. Some people might have a bridge that is angled, all depending on your bridge design. Then from there, you're going to put your supports on the inside. You just don't want to slap them anywhere. In the classroom, we would talk about the mathematics that go along with it and different shapes for supports and things like that. But for this, you're just going to want to concentrate on equal spacing. So if you take this, and remember, the distance from the roadbed to the top has to be 5 centimeters. So figure out where 5 centimeters is. And a lot of times I tell people in the classroom, just draw a super light line with a pencil all the way down. One that could be easily erased later, you know, if you needed to. So you're going to want to, so if you are going at an angle on some bridges, you want to make sure if you're going in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 centimeters over, you know, you mark 5 centimeters, but then you're going to do the same thing over here and go over 5 centimeters. That way, all your angles are equal. And then your supports, you just don't want to put them anywhere. You want to make sure, well, am I putting a support 1 every 3 lines? Well, then mark it 1 every 3 lines. Now, remember when you're doing this that you only are getting 100 toothpicks. That is the most amount of toothpicks you can use. No, you cannot borrow some from mom and dad. Your maxed out budget is 100 toothpicks. Now, each toothpick is about 6 centimeters long, but then you have to remember when you're gluing your toothpicks together, there is going to be about a 1/2 centimeter overlap. So really you get about 5 centimeters of usable toothpick. So when you're designing this, get your outer shell first. And your side view is one of the more important things to make sure is very, very good and sturdy. But just remember, you can't just put a million lines in there to make it strong, because you are limited by how much or how many toothpicks you are getting. So keep that in the back of your mind. Maybe do a little bit of planning at this stage. Once you're here, this is basically the basic design that everyone will do. And then literally from here, the design changes if you're doing a Warren, a Pratt, you know, all the other different types of bridges that you are trying to do. So good luck. Any questions, let me know.